Sarah. How about you?
Great. So everybody, today I'm joined with Kate Grunke, make sure I pronounce her name right, from Kate the Socialite, and we are going to be talking about authentic, savvy marketing, which I think is so important. And
Absolutely.
Kate, could you just take a minute and tell us a bit about yourself and your background, because you have a great story.
Yeah, so I specialize in marketing for interior designers and home stagers, and I'm based in Wisconsin, so nowhere near any sort of design mecca, but I'm blessed to be able to work with designers all over the country and the world, and that's why I'm really excited to be collaborating with Mydoma today. So yeah, the whole point of today's webinar is to be authentic in our marketing, and that's just something that I've been really passionate about, especially over the last year, because I just feel like everyone thinks marketing is so complicated and it's so expensive, and we have to try to like dress ourselves up or gussy ourselves up into something that we're not. And that's simply not the case. In fact, we're just really chronically overthinking marketing. So I'm hoping that today, through the information I'm going to share, everyone is going to walk away with just a deep sigh of relief.
That sounds perfect, because I can tell you, I mean, we're the same way, right? It's all about telling your story, and I think you're going to talk a bit about that, but just everybody has a story to tell, and how you tell it, I think, impacts the type of client that you bring in, right? Or the type of lead.
Yes, absolutely.
So if anybody sitting there today who's joining us want to take a minute, introduce yourselves. We'd love to know where you are watching from. You can just say hi, let us know. We will be doing a live Q&A. So Kate and I both talked about this, and so she's got an action-packed presentation, like filled with some really great content. And keep your questions ready. You can post them, but we're going to try to actually address them at the end, because you've said that you want to make sure that we give the best, fullest answers, and they're not really just quick. So yeah, please post those questions over in the Q&A, introduce yourself so we know where you're watching from, and I guess we will let Kate take the reins here. It's just 1:05 now, so if you want to get started, we can jump into the presentation.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay. All right. So let me just make sure. Can you still see me all right?
Yes, perfectly. So I'm going to mute myself periodically just so there's no feedback coming from me. So I'll let you get started.
Okay, awesome. So guys, I am thrilled to be telling you all about savvy and authentic marketing today, because like Sarah mentioned earlier, we all do have a story to tell, but unfortunately sometimes when we think we don't have a story, we are still telling a story, but it's not the right one. And we have to make sure that we are telling our story in such a way that it attracts more people that we would like to work with. Because if you find yourself in this quagmire of, I can't get enough new leads, and the leads I do get don't want to pay me, they don't see value in my design services. I mean, not only is that a blow to your confidence, not only is that so frustrating, but it also should make you stop and think, well, what am I putting out there that is attracting these, for lack of a better word, crappy clients? So today we're going to go through and figure that out. So we're going to just dive right in. So every piece of your marketing tells a story. And I'm going to give you a few concrete examples, because when I say story, I'm not talking about the Three Little Pigs. I'm talking about the glimpses into your character as a person and into your passion behind your business. Those things are so important. So take, for example, what you posted on Instagram in the past week. I want you to pick up your phone right now. Don't get distracted. Stick with me and look at your Instagram feed. Look at what you posted. Were the last 9 or 12 posts about your services only? Were they about your family, your food, your pets only? Were they promos or sales? Well, here's the thing. If you're posting just about your services, while that may seem great at the surface, what you're actually doing is hiding behind your services, and you're becoming just a service-based business instead of a brand. Now, the difference between those two is a brand has a heart. A brand has a personality that people learn to know, like, and trust. And that is when they're willing to pull out their purse or pull out their wallet and start investing in you. When you've proven that you're a real person, and oh, also, you're an interior designer. You have to be a real person first. But on the flip side, if all you're doing is posting things about you and your family and what you're eating today, then people won't even think that you have a business. And you'll end up telling the story of, I'm just a regular person and I like to have fun and eat food. Well, we all do. So you have to make sure that you are not going to the other extreme. Now, the third example is if you're just posting on social media or you're just sending out an email newsletter when you have something to sell. Like you've got a promo running, you've got a holiday special coming up. The problem with that is then it takes the heart and the personality right out of your company, because it shows that you only cared about reaching out to your audience when you have something to gain from them. And that's never a good way to go about any sort of relationship. And that's the big part of a brand story. You have to view your audience as someone that you are trying to facilitate a relationship with, which means that everything you do in your business should be centered around them and their needs and their problems, and not around posting or emailing just the things that are convenient for you right now or just the things that you like.
That is incredible, Kate. I muted myself. Just like words of wisdom here, right? So I just want to say, I love the idea of you saying that you need to be a brand and a brand has a heart, right? And that balance, I think those are some really key lessons in there, because I was going to pick up our Instagram and take a look, and I'm like, no, because I know myself and I'll get distracted. Mm-hmm. But I will take a look at your advice later and, take a peek. But I think you've got some really valid points there about just telling the story and building a relationship. Those are just some key points that I picked out, having a heart, building a relationship with those people, not just selling to them when you need something, right? It's two-sided. So
absolutely. Which leads into my next point of when you are able to connect with your customers or your clients or your leads, then you're able to start making those sales. But they aren't going to feel salesy. They're not going to feel slimy or weird or gross, because it's you as a friend helping them as a friend. And yeah, there is a business involved, and a business coach can tell you all about the profit strategies and money management behind all of that. But my main focus is making sure that you get the right people in the door, as in into your sales funnel. So I want to show you guys what an interior design sales funnel looks like. And it's super simple. I don't want you to start feeling overwhelmed or worried that you won't be able to pull this off, because I know for a fact that you can. So this is a simple sales funnel just for designers and stagers. So it starts on the left with social media, because that is where people find you. And that's where you start to facilitate a relationship with them by posting things that you know they'll like, and also mixing in your latest promotion, mixing in, of course, photos of your own work. That's super important. And then when they like what you're posting, let's say you posted, something from your blog, or you had a free download you were offering, like how to choose bathroom tile, that brings them to your website. And hopefully everyone watching has a website. That is extremely crucial when you're an interior designer. You want to make sure that your portfolio is first and foremost, as well as that it's clear who you serve and how you serve them. That way, when you send people from social media to your website, they instantly recognize that they're in the right place. As in, this designer gets me. As in, this designer understands my problems and she knows how to fix them. That is when you start getting a hot lead. We're not just talking about cold leads anymore. So once someone is on your site, chances are they probably won't contact you right away, and that's okay, because maybe they just don't need your help right this second. But what they will do is join your mailing list if you are offering them something in exchange for their email address. So we would call that in marketing a lead magnet. But you might know it more as a freebie an ebook, or some other free download that has some of your best design advice, and it's around one very focused topic, so you're not creating a whole book for them. It could be 1 or 2 pages, and it just helps them with a problem that they're facing right now. And as far as what that problem is, well, that's your territory, because that means you have to know your client. So once you get these people in your mailing list, they got in your mailing list by downloading your free offer, now you've got all these potential projects and clients just sitting there. So what do? Well, you don't ignore them. Instead, you send a monthly email newsletter, because that way you stay like top of mind, but you don't irritate them, and you're able to give more and more value. And then in that newsletter is where the sales happen. So what I'm going to do next is go into more detail about social media and newsletters, because those are the 2 things that you as the designer have the most control over. Most designers don't have a ton of control over their website, and getting a new website design can be a little expensive. It can take a little bit of time. So I'm not going to put that burden on you today, but I do want to talk about what you can be doing right now with your social media, the beginning of your sales funnel, and your newsletter, the end of your sales funnel. Okay, so before I dive in too deeply, I just want to say, don't feel like you have to be on every single social platform that has ever been known to mankind. That will only stress you out. So today I'm going to be talking primarily about Instagram, because that makes the most sense for an interior designer. But a lot of what I say will also apply to Facebook. And for those of you that don't know, Facebook owns Instagram, so there's a reason why similar tactics work well on both platforms. Okay, so this is an example of a social media post for an interior designer. You'll see I've got the image on the left, and it's beautiful. It's got just a great design in general. There are a lot of design elements in it, and these are better than like zooming in on just a piece of decor or just a piece of fabric. You can do that from time to time, but most people want to see the whole picture. Now, when you're writing a caption, don't take the easy way out and just say, oh, look at this pretty picture. No, you have a lot more that you could offer people. So instead, you could say, natural light is your friend. Don't be afraid to multiply it with decorative mirrors and blah, 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 blah. Now, what I did here at the end was I added a tip, but it doesn't look like a, now look at this tip that I have for you. Instead, it's spoken like a friend. Like, in fact, if you place a mirror across from or perpendicular to a window, you'll easily make the room feel like it has more windows. And you know that as a designer, but a regular everyday homeowner doesn't necessarily know that. And that's the thing. You can use social media as a way to set yourself up as the know-it-all in a good way of your industry, and as the educator, as the leader. And that will make people all the more inclined to invest in you financially. Now, one more thing I will say about this social post is, you'll see I've got quite a few hashtags on this page. When you're posting on Instagram, you need to make sure that you're using 25 to 30 hashtags on every post. And there's a myth going on right now that says if you use more than 15 hashtags on Instagram, Instagram views that as spam, but it's not true. And I've tested it, and my colleagues have tested it. And the truth is, the more hashtags you use, up to 30, the more eyes see your post. Now, remember, the goal is not to just amass followers and likes and comments, because those don't put money in your bank account. But if you can make sure that you're reaching 10 of the right people every day, instead of 100 people who will never hire you, then you know you're doing your job. Okay, so this second social media example is set up exactly the same way. And the good news is, once you figure out your groove of social media, you don't have to deviate from it. So I like to start by describing the design. I like to point out different design features, like the clawfoot tub, or the subway tile, or the shutters, because when everyone looks at that photo, they're going to look at different aspects of it. And I like to take time to describe it so that people can really appreciate it, especially if it's an image from your own portfolio. And it's always good to, of course, tag any vendors, tag any other subcontractors, because you want to make sure they get credit as well. But that also helps you look like you're more connected to your community. Now, again, I followed this up with 25 to 30 hashtags. And quick note on the hashtags. If you're posting from Instagram directly to Facebook, which is completely fine, just make sure the hashtags don't carry over with it, because if you use more than 2 or 3 hashtags on Facebook, Facebook will make sure people don't see your post, because over there they think it's spammy. So there are a lot of like really finicky rules from one social media platform to another.
Are there any specifics on how to not have those hashtags show up? Do you know, from Instagram to Facebook?
Yeah, so if you put the hashtags in the first comment, then when you click to share to Facebook, it will only share the image and the caption, but it won't include the hashtags.
Perfect. That's a really good tip. Thanks.
You know, and a lot of people will just put the hashtags in the caption, but I find that it looks a little bit messy. So I just like to put them in the first comment, but it's honestly personal preference. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little here and talk about email newsletters, because I've got a lot to say about that, and I always get a lot of questions about it too. So I'm hoping I'll answer most of them in this part of the presentation, but like Sarah said, we will have a Q&A at the end where we can go over any specific questions you guys might have. So, email newsletters. Now, there are several different components that an email newsletter needs to have in order to be effective. And one that I didn't put on here was the word count. Now, how many of you, don't raise your hand because I can't see you, how many of you have ever gotten an email newsletter that was like a book? Like, it was so long. Sarah's raising both hands for everyone. And it had so many topics, and you, at the end, had no idea what you were even looking at. That is not a good strategy. So I like to keep the word count of an email newsletter below 400. Okay, so that's pretty short and sweet. But within those 400 or fewer words, you actually have to accomplish a whole lot. So we're going to go through that. You need to start every email newsletter with a banner image. So just any image that you prefer, and your logo, or if you don't have a logo for some reason, at least put your business name, because people need to know right away when they open your email exactly who it's from and who you are and why they're getting this email in the first place. The next thing you need to add is a welcome message or an introduction to your topic. So you can use that welcome message to like give someone a personal update. It's okay to be personal in your newsletters. It's completely okay. And in fact, it's encouraged, because there is something very intimate about showing up in someone's inbox. And that's why people get so ticked when they get emails that they never signed up for, because then they just feel like that was an invasion of privacy. So when someone has agreed to be on your mailing list, treat them with that dignity and that respect, and be like, hey, I'm a real person, and yeah, I'm sending you a newsletter, but here's what's been going on in my life right now. And the good thing about that is people will find reasons to connect with you, because let's say you got a new dog, let's say you had a baby, let's say you got engaged, whatever it is, maybe you have a new grandchild, other people who are reading that, who have experienced those things, will be excited for you, and they'll remember that. And you're increasing the surface area that allows people to like stick to you. If you think of yourself as like a magnet, the more you share of your personality and your life experience, the bigger of a magnet you are. So after that welcome message, make sure that you do introduce your topic. So your topic should be limited to one subject. You don't want to go talking about the kitchen and the bathroom and the living room. I mean, like, that is just so much. There's so much you could talk about in those spaces. But if you were talking about flooring options, you could talk about ideal kitchen flooring, ideal bathroom flooring, and so on. But you've got to make sure that there is a common thread. So when I choose a topic for the newsletters that I create, I then choose 3 main points beneath that topic and an image to go with each one. And the images you can get from a stock photo site, or you can get them from your own portfolio. It just depends on what you have available to you. And after I list those 3 points, and I have a paragraph for each and an image for each, then I just simply follow up with some design news and tips, because that shows that I'm on top of things. I'm aware of what's happening in my industry, and I want my readers, the homeowner, to stay on top of things with me. Like, did you know that subway tile is going to go out of style? I don't know that, by the way, I'm just making it up. But after that, you have to make sure that you include your bio and a headshot. And this goes back to the same reason of why you need to have a welcome message, and that is you need to be personal. You need to be a real person behind the screen at all times. And then last but not least, I mean, this is like the most important thing that your email newsletters could ever have, you need a call to action. Now, call to action is something that simply tells your reader what to do next. Because if you have this wonderful newsletter, but then you don't tell them, respond to book a consult with me, or go here to view my portfolio, or something like that, they're just going to delete your newsletter and be done. But we don't want that. We want your newsletter to be a conversation starter. So I'm going to show you guys what an actual newsletter looks like. And this is one that I created. Okay, we're just going to let it load. Okay. So I've got a spot at the top with a header image and the company name, tagline, promos. And this is something that you just fill in, or if you're creating your own newsletter, just keep this layout in mind. And then I go straight into introducing the topic. And I have some designers who will also add a paragraph up there, introducing themselves and giving personal updates. Everyone's different. But I go into the topic itself. So I have an image, and then I'd have a paragraph about it, and then an image and a paragraph. So it's just a very simple layout. And then I also include a section where designers can add their most popular services, or the services that they want to be really pushing right now. And then I just, like I said, I wrap it up with design highlights, design tip of the month, and a spot for your headshot and your bio. And just keep your bio succinct. You don't need to put all 15 paragraphs in there, but just make sure that people know like what your role is in the business and how long you've been doing it and why you love what you do, because those are some really important things. You can also add in your bio who your ideal client is. So you could say, I love working with professional women who live in, and list your service area. And then at the end, I add the call to action, which is PS, because for some reason, PS always gets people's attention. Ready to live in a well-styled home? Reply to book your design or window treatment consult. So it's not a huge ask, and it doesn't have to be. All you want to do is get them to respond to you so that you guys can have a conversation and so they can pay for a consult. And that's where you start landing your new clients. So let me just switch back over to my slides here. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to address some of the frequently asked questions that I get about social and email. And hopefully I will address most of what you guys are asking in the comments. Which social platform should I use? Well, I mentioned this at the beginning, and you should be using Instagram and Facebook. I would also recommend Google+, but the post for that can only be scheduled ahead of time using like Hootsuite. So it depends on how techy you want to get. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, just choose one social platform, just one. And in your situation, I would suggest Instagram. How often should I post on social media? Well, this depends. So on Instagram, it's best if you post daily or at least 5 times a week. So we're looking at 5 to 7 times a week. With Facebook, you can get by posting anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. And it just depends. You have to think about which social platform are your ideal clients spending most of their time on. And then let's say they spend most of their time on Instagram. Well, then you should put most of your social media energy into Instagram. That just makes sense. You don't want to try to create an audience on Facebook if your audience is not naturally on Facebook. That's just going to drive you nuts. The next question I get is, do I have to have a freebie download in place before sending a newsletter? So if you remember when I was talking about the sales funnel, I mentioned sometimes you can have like a ebook or a mini magazine or something like that that people can get after they give you their email address. And you don't have to have that, but it is good to have some way for people to get in your mailing list on your website. So if you wanted to do simply, join to get my lookbook or join to get my mini magazine, which I've had some designers call their newsletter, it's a lot better than saying, join now to get our newsletter. Because honestly, nobody wants to get more newsletters.
Yeah, a creative name is definitely better. Do you have any tools that you would recommend for creating some of these freebies? Like if we're talking about a mini magazine or, any ideas?
Yeah, so I would recommend Canva. And I know a lot of people already know about it, but canva.com is like a super professional but easy graphic design tool. And you can create your lead magnets and social media posts and like posters and flyers and anything you can think of, you can create with Canva. So I really like it. Plus it's free. I mean, for limited features, but it's still free.
Mm-hmm. So we actually use Canva a lot. I love it. I do recommend actually if you're using Canva to invest in doing the, again, not affiliated with them, but to do their pro account. I think it's $150 a year or something, and it allows you to create your own brand, colors, logos, so you can actually start to make everything very cohesive. So as Kate's talking about, telling your story, if you want some cohesiveness to the story, it's a great way to do it. Just keeps everything organized.
Yeah. No, that brings up a good point, Sarah, because it's like if you're telling a different story on each different marketing channel, like in your newsletter, on Facebook versus on Instagram, people are going to be so confused, and you will be too. You're just going to be overwhelmed because it's hard to keep up with what you said last. So if you just have a consistent message of, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is who I serve, then it's going to be easy because then you can just focus on being a real person, and you should be a real person no matter where you go. So that just takes a lot of the pressure off of it. And once I started following that mentality in my own business, that's when I realized, marketing is kind of easy.
I like that. It's kind of easy.
So a lot of people also ask how often they should send a newsletter. And this answer is somewhat convoluted because it depends. And I hate it when people say, well, it depends, because that doesn't really tell me anything. But let me explain. So I usually just say send a newsletter once a month, every 4 weeks. But I do have some people in my newsletter membership who send every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. And as long as you don't get a lot of unsubscribes each time, then you know that it's okay. And as long as your open rate doesn't go down, then you know people don't mind hearing from you that often. What I don't recommend, however, is waiting more than a month between newsletters, because then it's easy for you to fall off the wagon and totally forget that you were supposed to send newsletters anyway. And it also makes it easier for people to forget about you. And we don't want that. The whole point of a newsletter is to nurture those leads that you've worked so hard for and to get them to hire you. All right. So people also ask, how do I build my mailing list? And I have a lot of designers who will come to me saying, I want to send newsletters, but I don't even have a mailing list. And I'll ask, well, do you have a list of past clients? and a list of people who contacted you in the past but maybe didn't hire you for whatever reason. And they'll be like, oh yeah, of course. And I'm like, all right then, you have a mailing list. That is your mailing list. And you do have full permission to email those people because they contacted you. They were interested in you. So you don't need to feel weird about it. But what I will say is, if you're ever tempted to buy an email list, don't do it. Because all reputable mass mailing providers like Constant Contact, ConvertKit, MailChimp, they will not let you use a list that you purchased because the people on that list never agreed to be sold. And you don't have permission to email them, and it can lead to being marked as spam too many times, which can lead to your website being blacklisted and tens of thousands of dollars in fines. So I would just say, don't do it. Don't buy a list. And also, if you're at an event and you're tempted to go around and gather people's business cards and then come home and put those on your mailing list, don't do that either. Because unless someone has given you permission to be like mailing them, or if they were a client or a lead, you don't have permission and you just can't. But if you want to start out building your list to a higher level, more authentically, then I highly suggest you create a lead magnet or a freebie. And it can be, like I said, how to choose bathroom tile, or how to choose flooring for each room in your new home, or something like that, something that really hits on the pain point that your target client has. Now, I can hear a lot of people right now saying, but I'm not a writer, but I'm not a graphic designer. That's why there's Canva. That's also why that's something that I offer. I do offer all those services to create those things for you because I understand you guys are busy working on your projects. You're working on being a designer. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later, but I just want you to know that you have no excuses. There are free tools out there that will help you build this. And there are also professionals out there like me and my team who will gladly take it off your plate. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys just a brief demo of something that I created. Now, this platform that I created stemmed from people feeling overwhelmed with their marketing, and more specifically, interior designers and home stagers. I found when I first got into this industry that designers were being taken advantage of, and they were being taken advantage of by social media managers, by web designers, by graphic designers, and just by content marketers in general. They were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of years, but they didn't have a lot to show for it. And the quality of the content they were given really wasn't that good, and it didn't have a return on investment. And that upsets me because as a content marketer myself, if the content's not working, then you shouldn't be investing in it. I mean, that ends up hurting your business rather than growing it. So what I did is I created a platform where you can get newsletters and social media posts with the captions, with the hashtags. You can get training videos on how to set up a Hootsuite account, or how to schedule your pins on Pinterest, or how to schedule out your Instagram posts. And you have all of this information in one spot so that you don't have to spend $100,000 over the course of running your business on marketing that just didn't get you where you wanted to go. So let's just take a little tour. So the platform I created is called Socialiate Vault, and it is just for designers, decorators, and stagers. So there won't be anything in here about any other industry. I am extremely niche focused. And I'm just going to show you, I'll show you the homepage quick. But it just goes over everything that's included. So we do have unlimited social media posts, professional newsletters, and marketing consultation, which means that all of my members talk to me directly. And if they have a problem that isn't even covered in their membership, I still help them with it. Because I believe you shouldn't have to hire 5 people to get all of your marketing done, especially if you have a small team or you're a one-woman show. And I have different membership levels, and I just have a lot of info on here. So I'm going to show you the inside of the membership quick. Okay. This is the membership dashboard. And from here you can access the social media stuff, newsletters, the guides, and the approved vendors. So there are certain vendors that I have vetted and I know are just full of integrity. They're truly in it to help the interior designer. And actually, Mydoma is definitely one of those that I have listed, because it all comes down to the heart of the brand. And when I see a company who has a true heart for helping interior designers and making their lives easier, I definitely include them in that list. So you can be sure that you've got people who will write your blog posts for you in there. You've got people who will help manage your projects, like the Mydoma platform. You've got people who will do everything that you need as a business owner in there. But most of all, you get the social media posts and the newsletters. So let me just switch back again. So guys, that just about wraps it up. But I just want you to know that if this sounds like something that would make your life easier, I want you to go check it out. Just go to socialitevault.com. And if you think, yeah, okay, this would really help me, make sure you use the code Mydoma so that you can save 20% on your first month. And don't feel trapped. I don't require you to stay a certain number of months. I don't require a contract. All I want is for you guys to market your businesses at a high level and be authentic and get the return on your investment.
That's fantastic, Kate. I think that you are also a brand with a very big heart. So we chatting about this yesterday when we were preparing for the webinar, and I think that the services and the knowledge that you bring to the industry is, wonderful and very honest, rooted in good knowledge. So I have a couple questions here that came through, and I just want to encourage anybody who to post your questions. So if you haven't already and you have some specific questions for Kate, we have a few more minutes, so we'd love to have a chat, little candid chat about some of those questions. So I got a big one for you, and get ready. So one of those hot topics. So Rochelle over on Facebook actually said she'd like to understand better how the GDPR regulations will affect our opt-in offers. And so I don't know, can you answer that one?
So I can't answer it as much as I would like to, because that regulation is pretty new. And I do know that it's all about protecting the end user. So if you have any intentions of selling your email list, or if you just plan on doing anything that's kind of unsavory, don't do it. And I don't think any of you are. It's just another layer of protection. It might require people to do a double opt-in when they get in your list, when they get your freebie, because they will then say they want in, but then they'll get an extra email saying, yeah, I definitely want in. And the platform I use for emails is MailChimp, and they have that feature that you can disable or enable. It just depends on what you need. But yeah, I wish I knew more about that regulation, and after this webinar, I'm going to go read up on it because I should know, but that is a fairly new one.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it probably is worth, I would say, generally just speaking with your lawyer. If you do have any major concerns about how you are collecting, distributing, or using data, all you have to do is speak to your lawyer about it too, and they should be able to advise on what actions you should take, if any. So I had a feeling, I was like, that's a biggie. So let's lead into some other ones. How about, I think you mentioned already, but do you have a preference for the type of email, what's the word I'm looking for now? Email softwares. What's the word I'm looking for campaigns, doing email campaigns?
Yeah.
Which softwares do you prefer?
So I really love MailChimp, and I've used other platforms, including ConvertKit, but I migrated everything back to MailChimp, which took a while. But the thing with MailChimp is if you have 2,000 people or fewer on your list, then everything is free, including their full automation system. So you could set up nurture sequences, autoresponders, You could have things linked and crossed, and people get certain emails depending on whether or not they opened your email or clicked a certain link in the email versus a different link in the email. I mean, all of that is free, and it wasn't always free, but as of the end of 2017, I believe, MailChimp made all of their automation features totally free, and it's just, there's so much value there. And if your list gets over 2,000, and if that happens, I say good for you, that's awesome. It's still really affordable. It's going to be like $40 to $50 a month.
Yeah, and at $40 to $50 a month to manage over 2,000, I mean, that's fantastic. It's pretty affordable. If you got that many clients coming in, right, or at least people that are interested, then they work their way through the funnel. Another question here. So do you have a preference of what type of scheduling social media apps you like to use?
So I like using Facebook's built-in scheduler. Just, you know, it works well because then I can automatically see what's coming up in the pipeline. My clients can see it if I'm managing client accounts. And I've used Hootsuite for Facebook, but I just have a hard time with Hootsuite. Like, not a hard time using it, but I guess I'm just not a huge fan of the layout. But I know a lot of people are. Plus, if you have like up to 3 profiles on Hootsuite, it's free for you to use. So if cost is a factor, you could always use Hootsuite. I have been using Hopper HQ, however, for Instagram and recently Facebook scheduling as well, because with Hopper, I can do the image, the caption, and then I can actually put in the first comment right away too, so that everything is done automatically. And Hopper is a fairly new company. They are based in Europe, and they're still working out a few glitches. I do have to give that disclaimer, but I love working with them, and their customer service is so awesome, because if I have some sort of problem, like if the first comment wasn't posting, I email them, I hear back within minutes, and they do whatever they can to fix it. And, you know, whether it's giving me a discount on my monthly fee or removing that fee altogether or talking to their engineers. I've had their engineers email me. So it's like, it just depends on where you're at in your business. For me, saving time is huge. So I tend to go for platforms that will do everything for me, as opposed to the free platforms that still require some legwork.
Yeah, I'd say I 100% agree. That was going to lead into my next question on, is there one that you specifically use for Instagram? And it's so funny because I actually also, or we at the company also use Hopper HQ. So kind of small. Like, and luckily for us, we haven't run into any tech glitches with it yet. And I mean, all softwares go through ups and downs, bugs.
Oh yeah,
just
totally.
Speak openly about that. We go through it well. Yeah, we really like it as well. It's that first comment, which I think led into another questions on here. Is the ability to do the first comment, right? Which then leads into scheduling onto Facebook. So as you suggested, you don't want those 35 hashtags all being on Facebook. So if we put them in the first comment on Instagram, then when it gets shared over, we won't get them showing up on Facebook. So anybody who's looking at a scheduler, I would recommend as well Hopper HQ. We've been really happy with it. It's quite affordable for how powerful it is. And then you just have to think like how much time it saves you. Because, I mean, I'm sure there are many other schedules out there that do the first comment as well. But when you have to do the push notifications, or it pushes to your phone, right? And then you have that notification and then you still have to approve it. I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose, because if I miss the notification, then it didn't get posted, right? I want to set it and forget it. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, that was really frustrating for me when I was using Hootsuite for Instagram, because I would always forget. I would see the notification and then I would get busy, and then my whole Instagram schedule would be thrown off.
Exactly. So you kind of like, if you're going to sit down and do the effort of putting in the comment and the hashtags, right, and the images, you just want it to go. Just go do what you're supposed to do. Okay, so we covered some of those. I'm just checking the time, see if any other questions come through. We're doing great on time. Perfect. It's 1:45 right now. So if there's any other questions, why don't you guys pop them in the chat while we wait for some of those. Kate, a question for you is that we were talking a bit as you went through that timeline, there was a piece on the actual creation of the website.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any preferred platforms that you like people to use if they are creating their website from scratch?
Yeah, great question. So I love Squarespace. It is easy to use, and I use it for all of the websites I create for my clients. And my assistant uses the same thing. We just think it's awesome because even if a professional designs the website, the interior designer with even very little tech savvy can still come in and add photos to her portfolio or swap out images on a different page, update her bio. Like, it's just really easy. It's also pretty affordable too. So another thing that I like about Squarespace is that it has a lot of built-in SEO. And the reason why Squarespace has just kind of like overturned the market is because they've thought of everything. And it's meant for brands and for service-based businesses and bloggers. So if you have an interior design blog on WordPress right now, you can easily, with a few clicks, migrate all your posts into Squarespace, and you can keep your same URL. So yeah, hands down, Squarespace is my favorite.
Oh, that's really good to know. It's like as designers, right? We don't want to be spending all this time on our website, but sometimes we have to do some of that stuff ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't and we're looking to hire someone else, like if we're looking to engage in your services, that's great because like it's an easy tool that you can operate, but then we can also do the fill in the gaps. Because I hear, I need to update this, but my web person, my webmaster this, my this, my that, right? And there's always these excuses, and it's like, you need to own that. You either need to get access to it or have somebody who can work a little bit more closely with you, because that's hurting your business, right?
It is because it gets to the point where their website is so behind the times with where their business is at that it makes them feel embarrassed. I mean, that's how a lot of people are when they come to me. They're like, did you look at my website? Like, I want you to, but I don't want you to. And I'm like, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But Squarespace makes it really easy for people to either build their own site or to come in after me or someone from my team has built a site for them. And then they don't have to contact us every time they want something updated. They do it themselves. They don't have to pay us a monthly fee. I don't believe in that. They literally are the owner of their website and they're in full control of it.
I love that. That's fantastic. Okay, so one more question. What would be your top 3 freebies or lead magnets that you think would be good for an interior designer?
So a how-to of anything works really well. In fact, that would be like my main one. Or you could do 5 ways to style a bookshelf or 5 ways to decorate a nursery. But you have to make sure that whatever topic you're choosing is something that your ideal client needs to hear. So if you really love talking about nurseries, but your ideal client is like a professional woman, maybe she just doesn't have kids, that's not going to jive, because like your ideal client's not interested in decorating nurseries, but she would be interested in how to set up a very chic home office. So you just have to think about who you're talking to.
Okay, love that. Okay, so basically make sure that we're targeting to the right person, and you would say that how-tos probably, right? I think I'd agree because you're really solving a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to imagine I'm that client and I'm frustrated by I'm having my first baby and I have no idea where to start, or I'm working from home as a professional woman and I want to have that sleek, elegant look. But again, I don't know how to start or where to go. So, or you've started with you have a builder home, right? Okay, so that was great. I think if there are more questions, guys, you can always send them over an email, but we should probably do a little wrap up here. So Kate, do you want to stop screen sharing for a quick second and we'll just do a nice friendly goodbye without our faces like itty bitty in the corner?
Yeah.
If you can. Don't worry if you can't. It all works.
Yeah, let me see here. Oh yeah, it's right there.
So I just wanted to say it was such a pleasure chatting with you today, and you are a fountain of knowledge. And I really hope that a bunch of the people that attended today at least go and learn more about the Socialite Vault and see if it's a good fit for them. Give them some of that knowledge just to get them in the right direction, because we hear it a lot. Can you help with email lists, and how do we write social posts? We actually hear that fairly often, because a big piece is that our designers, some of them are really, some of them are looking to get that next client, or they have clients coming in, they're not the right client.
Yeah.
And us at Mydoma Studio, we don't do that. We don't help you find the right client. We help you manage those clients and communicate with them and be a rock star, right? Like, we do that piece. So it's people like you that we look to help them make sure they're targeting properly.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you again, and I know that we're going to chat offline after and just talk about our next webinar, and I'm thinking we probably do a little focus on websites just based on some of the questions that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Might be good. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone watching. Just super excited and honored to collaborate with Mydoma. So I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.